Now you would say, okay, well, we kind of knew about that, but then he talks about, don't talk about liberation. He says, don't talk about, don't have kata about liberation. And this one is really hard because, you know, we often talk like that, don't we? Oh, Kali Yuga, it's just miserable. I can't wait till I get out of here. Oh, man. At least I'm getting old, you know. I know one devotee who said, Krishna's going to give me time off for good behavior. When am I going to get out of this miserable body? So why are talks about liberation? Why are they like a tigress? Now, interesting, a tigress rather than a tiger. A tigress is more fierce. Do you know that? You know, she's often guarding her cubs, and it's usually the females of the cats who do the most hunting. And people keep a tigress often as a pet. You know that? People they like to have these exotic pets. They're very beautiful. Nice tiger. And then one day the guy doesn't show up to work because the tigress ate them. And so Raghunath Das Goswami says this tigress of talking about liberation is going to eat your very self. Interesting, because an interest in liberation, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Madhurya Kadambini, is the result of past pious activities. So why is this antithetical to bhakti? So I think about Jiva Goswami's book, Madhurya Kadambini. No, not Madhurya Kadambini, Madhava Mahotsava. At the end, Radharani is crowned as the queen of Vrindavan. At the end, she gives a benediction. Anyone know what benediction Radharani gives everyone at the end? Huh? She says, may all those who are bound be liberated. And does everybody go, Jai, Jai? No, her friends cry. They say, we're bound to you in love. We don't want to be liberated. When Krishna said to Rukmini, now you're free to go, was she happy? If you go home to your spouse and you say, okay, you're free now. Actually, someone just told me that this morning. Yeah, I went to my spouse and I said, okay, I'm divorcing you. You're free now. Hare Krishna. That's not love, my dear friends. I'm sorry. That's why we say boyfriend, girlfriend isn't love. Marriage is love. Now, you might say, well, what are you saying, Urmila? That love for Krishna is in freedom? No, it is freedom. There's no force. It's completely voluntary. One voluntarily binds oneself to the Lord in loving service. And therefore, focusing on the desire for liberation is like a tigress eating our heart. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, it's like a prisoner who thinks they'll get free by committing suicide. And he quotes Rupa Goswami that the desire for bhukti and mukti are just like two witches. Not only does one have to give up talking about mundane things and talking about liberation, he also says, give up rati for Lakshmipati. Now I find it interesting that Raghunath Das Goswami calls Narayana Lakshmipati. So I have a friend who told me, oh, Urmila, I like to have very rich friends. I said, oh, why is that? He said, well, when my rich friends throw a birthday party, they rent 3 bouncy castles and 2 magicians and a clown, and they have the party at a swimming pool, and my kids get to go too. He said, and I have another rich friend who owns a yacht, and so when I visit him, I get to go on the yacht. He says, so I like my friends. I'd like them if they weren't rich, but I like it that they're rich. So an attachment to Lakshmipati, the husband of Lakshmi, is not quite the same as an attachment to the Lord in his form of Krishna. One wants to enjoy the opulences of the Lord. Now with the Lord, not like the demigods who want a license to be the controllers of the material world. One wants to be on the yacht with one's friend. But one also wants to be on the yacht. So there may be degrees of self-interest here, but this should be given up. Now, of course, Narayana and Krishna are the same, but yet when gopis saw the Lord in his Narayana form, they said, oh, where's Krishna? So if one wants to go to Vrindavan, One should have the mood just of serving Krishna, not wanting to enjoy the opulences of the Lord, even with the Lord. So how do we do this? How do we get free of this prostitute of mundane talks, the tigress of talks of liberation, attachment to wanting to go to a grand heaven and enjoy the Lord's opulences? We need a jewel. So those of you schooled in traditional Ayurveda know that jewels can be very powerful. Before Dhruva Maharaj went to get on the airplane to Vaikuntha, he decorated himself with jewels. And Prabhupada said, today it's hard to find such jewels, so we just wear tilak. So what is this jewel that we want? It's the jewel of service to Radha and Krishna in Vrindaban. The jewel of the love between Radha and Krishna, between all the residents of Vrindaban. Just giving, being absorbed in this mood as Krishna loves Radha and Radha loves Krishna, as all the residents love each other. They grow in beauty and in affection. They're not thinking of taking anything for themselves or enjoying anything from the other. They're thinking just of giving pleasure to the other. And as they think like that, their own pleasure and beauty increases, increases, and increases millions and millions of times. So to be absorbed in that kind of loving service, in that mood, one gets a great jewel. And this jewel is so powerful that in comparison, the prostitute of mundane talks, the tigress of talks of liberation, the opulence of Vaikuntha is insignificant. So one should hold this jewel very carefully. But do remember, a jewel is external and localized. Keep that in mind for Sunday. All right, we're going to go now into a little deeper layer. Now, frankly, most people aren't even aware of what they say, and how much they say reveals their consciousness and creates their consciousness. Most of us are deaf to our own sounds. But once one has become aware of the sounds one is making and hearing, one can now go to a deeper level. Asak cheshta kasta pradavikata pashali biriha prakamam kamadi prakata pata pati vyatikarai kale badvahanye hamiti bakabid mart patagane Guru tvam putkaram avati sayata tvam manaita. While here on the revealed path, oh wait, let's do this right, we've got quotation marks here. So this is something that the devotee is saying, and it's got to be said with a little emotion, a little dramatic flair, all right? Let's try it again. While here on the revealed path of devotion, I have been attacked by the hideous gang of lust, etc., who have bound my neck with the troublesome, dreadful ropes of wicked deeds. I am being killed. That was great. Cry out piteously like this to the devotees of Sri Krishna, the destroyer of Baka. O mind, they will save you for these enemies. All right, now again, please keep in mind we are talking about devotees. We're talking about even advanced devotees here. These are now people who talk about Krishna. In every tradition, you find great preachers who don't walk their talk. We've had it in ISKCON, you have it in every tradition of the world, right? They have some genuine love for God, and they talk about God. They're great teachers, but they don't walk their talk. In the Bhagavatam, what demons even speak great philosophy? Hiranyakashipu and Ravana? I don't know if he's quoted in Bhagavatam. Is he? No, another one quoted in Bhagavatam speaks great philosophy. Kamsa, very good. Hiranyakashipu and Kamsa. So we're on the shining path of love, of God. We've got this jewel of the service of the love of Radha and Krishna. We maybe even have some attachment to Krishna. We have love for Guru as our friend, love for the holy places, love for the holy names. Now we're speaking about Krishna. Our sound is good. Oh my, but there's highwaymen on the path. We don't have very many highwaymen in America. Not anymore. Used to be. In South Africa, they tell you, be careful when you stop at the robots. Anyone know what the robots are in South Africa? The traffic lights, yes. They said when you stop at the robots, somebody may come with a gun and take your car and take your money and maybe even take your life. And I met devotees there. I met a devotee whose kid was killed at a traffic light. Took his car, killed the kid. The highwaymen, who are they? Now, please excuse me, my artist chose to depict all of them as male, so there wasn't any kind of gender bias here. Okay, we have lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and madness. And their ropes are made out of wicked deeds. These ropes are made out of all the things that we're saying you shouldn't do, you know. We're talking about Krishna, we're saying don't do this, and then we're doing them. All the things we say we don't want to do, we say no one should do, and these ropes have us around the neck like a dog on a leash. No, I'm not going to watch that, I'm not. Arjuna asked this question. What was Arjuna's question? Yes, why? When I first read that, I was in college. I'm like, yes, why? Arjuna says, why are we being impelled to do sinful things as if by force against our will? And Krishna said it is only due to lust, kama. And here he is, Kamadi, lust and his gang. And they've got these wicked deeds and they're pulling us around. This is embarrassing, isn't it? It's really embarrassing because, again, I can't emphasize this enough. This is a book for serious practitioners of bhakti. This is not a book just for the average person, you know, out there at Home Depot. I mean, this is a serious book. People at this point are already advanced in Krishna consciousness. And they're still being pulled around the neck by lust, anger, envy, greed, and illusion. Doing things they know are wrong. Feeling helpless and embarrassed. What is the cure? Raghunath Das Goswami says you have to look to the crane. So a crane is like a great yogi standing on one leg deep in meditation. Until along comes a fish. And then back. The hypocrite. A great yogi, a great spiritualist, until there comes along something from my senses, and then back to being a great yogi. But Krishna kills this cheating crane. Bakabid. Yay, Krishna. Splits him in half. And Raghunath Das Goswami says, if you want help, you have to have, again, saradamvanhitva, you have to have some humility to say, although I'm preaching and teaching Krishna consciousness and talking about Krishna, I am a dog on a leash to lust and his friends. Oh, great devotees on the path. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, like Bhishma, Arjuna, and Narada. Those who are the devotees of the killers of Baka. This is our painting for this verse. They can save us. As soon as we call for the help of these devotees, lust, anger, envy, greed, and illusion go far away. Why these devotees of the killer of Baka? What does this mean? The devotees of the killer of Baka. It means those devotees who themselves have given up hypocrisy. Now we should stress that this verse is about hypocrisy to others. I'm cheating others. In the next two verses, which we'll do on Sunday, it's about how we cheat ourselves. This is deceit and hypocrisy to others. And these devotees have given it up. We need the help of devotees who've given it up. That means people who are humble, who are willing to bear themselves and admit that they were slaves of lust, anger, and envy and greed, who are willing to give up pretense at least to this point. These are each different layers of giving up pretense. I love Krishna, but I'm going to talk about anything. Okay, give up that layer of pretense. I talk about Krishna, but I'm not going to act properly. Give up that layer of pretense. And although giving up pretense is a wonderful, joyful, liberating experience, for those who are wedded to the false ego, it appears to be very painful. Because we think, as Krishna says in the 16th chapter, Kamashrita, we think Kama is my shelter. Or as he says elsewhere in the Gita, Ahankara Ashrita. We think my Ahankara is my shelter. Just like the dog thinks its master is its shelter. This master gives me food, gives me place to sleep, right? Yes. It takes a lot of humility, a lot of honesty. It's so easy to justify sinful activities. Oh, I'm tired in the evening, what else am I supposed to do? Oh, I chanted my 16 rounds, I did my service all day, I can have some sense gratification. It's so easy to think, this is my shelter. So these devotees of Bhakabid, they've given this up. They've agreed to become clean to this point. And of course, we can also benefit from the instructions of the devotees of Bhakabid. Their instructions can cut these ropes around our neck. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur references Rupa Goswami's quote from, interestingly enough, Hiranyakashipu, where he says that our hearts are like a crystal stone, and they will reflect our association. When we associate with the devotees, at least who are free from gross hypocrisy, then we can also give up gross hypocrisy. Okay, a little quick review, and then we have just a few minutes for questions. So we had the 3 verses of qualification: having love for Krishna and those things associated with Krishna, giving up pride, making endeavor, being detached from dharma and adharma, right? Following Swarup, Rupa, having awakening of love for Krishna, or at least wanting to do so. And then being careful what we talk about by getting a jewel of love for Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, and getting free of these ropes of Kama and his friends by calling out with humility for the help of those who are free from hypocrisy. So we have about 5 minutes left. Yes? Why is it? Why is it a problem? It isn't a problem to have attraction for Krishna and the other forms if that's where you want to go. So someone brought this up to me in Florida and said, well, suppose somebody wants to worship Ramachandra. And I said, then you would say just be attached to Ramachandra. So this is a padati, or an instruction manual for those who want to worship Krishna in Vrindavan. Therefore, we're saying that don't be attached to the other forms, but you can see Krishna in the other forms. You can see, oh, here's Krishna as Narayana, here's Krishna as Ramachandra. Now, if your heart is totally attached to Ramachandra, Lord Chaitanya had some devotees like that who were just so attached to Ramachandra, then that's also fine. That's also glorious. And then you would take Raghunath Das Goswami's instructions as a template for your attachment to Ramachandra, for example. You would take the same principles and apply them to Ramachandra. Yes? Why can't you have attachment to 2 forms of Krishna? Now, that's also a very interesting question. In fact, there are some devotees who do have eternal relationships with more than one form of the Lord. And actually, I bring that up in reference to verse 9. So there are some devotees who are in both Lord Chaitanya's Leelas and Krishna Leelas simultaneously, because not only can God expand, but the liberated soul can also expand. And there are some devotees that are in Ram Leela, Lord Chaitanya's Leela, and Krishna's Leela. So that may be true for certain individuals. As they awaken to their eternal identity, they may find that they have an identity in more than one pastime of the Lord simultaneously. But again, this is a general template. So Raghunath Das Goswami is saying, if you just want to go to Krishna in Vrindavan, but you notice he's particularly talking about Narayana as Lakshmipati. Because again, he's talking about developing spontaneous love for Krishna. So spontaneous love for Krishna doesn't have any calculation in it. When one's attached to Lakshmipati, there's a certain kind of calculation and reverence in it. That, God of majesty. You follow? Do you understand? It's a very different mood. Okay, so each of us has a spiritual identity. that by the practice of a genuine spiritual process awakens. We awaken to our real self. So our real self may have a particular attachment to various forms of God. But if we want to become attached to the form of Krishna in Vrindavan, having an attachment to God as majestic is going to interfere with that. It's going to be a problem because they're not very compatible. When one's with Krishna in Vrindavan, the residents there, basically they don't think about that Krishna is God. They're basically unaware. I'm sure that when, President Obama is with his family privately, they're not thinking about how he's the president. I'm sure, his wife doesn't say to him, "Hey, you left your dirty socks on the floor, Mr. President." There's a certain casualness there. And Krishna likes to be in a situation where he's treated very casually, where his devotees are not interested in him because of his opulences, nor do they have reverence with him because of his opulences. They just love him for him, without any thought of his opulences. Now, he also loves his devotees who love him because he's the majestic God. But that's a different mood. It's a very different mood. So if one wants to enter the kingdom of God with reverence for the Lord as the supreme King of Kings, like in Handel's Messiah, Lord of Lords and King of Kings, and he shall reign forever and ever, and unlimited majestic opulences, and you're in awe, and oh my Lord, Gloria, Gloria, glories to you, my Lord. If that's what you want, then you can go. There's unlimited Vaikuntha planets for that mood. But the mood that Krishna has, and he's the same person. Krishna and Narayana are the same person. It's just like the judge at work, and the judge at home, or the president at work and the president at home. It's the same person. But when Krishna has his mood in Vrindavan, so he has Mother Yasoda saying to him, "You naughty, naughty boy." And you don't say that to God. You don't go to God and say, "You naughty, naughty boy, why are you taking the butter?" I mean, that's ridiculous. You would tremble in fear even to think of the thought, right? So if you want to enter into Vrindavan, one has to give up that mood of Krishna as majestic. You don't have to give up the mood of God as majestic. There's a realm for that. There's actually unlimited realms for that. So if after hearing about Krishna in Vrindavan, I have a god brother who says very frankly, "I don't want to go to Vrindavan, I want to go to Vaikuntha." Prabhupada talks about Bhishma, how Bhishma knew about Vrindavan, he knew about the gopis, but he wanted to go to Vaikuntha. So that's the individual taste of the soul in what mood we want to worship the Lord. What's nice about knowing about Krishna in Vrindavan is then one can cultivate the full range of different tastes and services to the Lord. Does that make some more sense to you? You are very welcome.